Hello and welcome back. And in this lecture, we are going to discuss about Java access specifiers. So, what are access specifiers in Java? Access specifiers are those things which will restrict our access to of members, such as class, fields, methods, and constructors. Everything we can restrict their access. So, the access means which our classes will be able to access our particular field, class, constructor, or method. How this will be done using is some keywords. So let us see one by one. There are four types of access specifiers. The first one is private. Private means the access is only within the class. So the class members can only access a private members. So within the package, if you look, the package and the another classes in the packages cannot access the member. So if you use a private keyword followed by the field name, then that variable can be accessed through private members only in the within the class only. And now let us discuss about the other type. The second type is the default. Default type means if you don't provide any access specifier to your particular variable or method, then that will be considered as a default. And default specifier, the specialty about default is the that it is accessible throughout the package. So if you have a default class or default field, it is accessible throughout the package. So throughout the package, it is accessible, and within the class, we can access it, but outside the package you cannot access a default member. So that is about default. Now let us discuss about protected. Protected means the access is restricted. Access is available in the package, but also you can access it from outside the package if there is a child relationship between the class. How we will do is using an extend keyword. If that class extends the class, that time the protected member will be accessible. We will talk about extends in the next section, and we will discuss about inheritance when that section will come. And that section we will explain about extends keyword. For now, think like it is an ability to extend a particular class. If you extend a class, then the properties of the class will be also available for the other class. So protected members can be available for the other packages through an inheritance relationship. So that is about protected. And one more thing about protected is if protected members can be accessed cannot be accessed without any for other packages outside the packages. We cannot access protected members without child relationship. Next thing which you need to and which access specifier is public. The public means it doesn't have any restrictions. That means everything can be accessed from everywhere. So without after the in outside the package also it is available. Within the class we can access it. Outside the class in anywhere it is available. It is open to the entire world. So this package specifier is used when you want to create an API which is not restricted to anyone. So that is the access specifiers. Now let us see some programs about these access specifiers. Now let us see a program to specify about the access modifiers or access specifiers. So in this program, I have declared fields with different access levels. So private, public, protected, and default. All the access levels I have declared. You can see I have commented it out. So if you do like this, and after that I have a method to print all the values. So how I am doing is we can access the members which are private or public or default or any members using a public method in the same class. So if you use like that, we will be able to access our specific members. So within the class we can access all these members. Now let us see the output for this program. Here you can see all the variable values are getting printed. So this is how access specifier can be used within a class. So within a class, always all the access specifiers are available. If you use a method, a public method, and use the variables, this can be handy, come in handy if we want to hide our code from other people. You can create a public method and make that fields private or default, and for other packages it will not be visible. And if you make the field as protected, what happens is that field can be accessed through an inheritance relationship outside the package only. Otherwise the field is hidden. So this is how the specifier or access visibility or access modifier will work. Now let us see another program. Now let us see another program to describe about access specifiers in Java. So here in this program we can see I have declared a uh, example 3 class first UC. So we can have multiple classes in the same file in Java. So if you have multiple classes you want to put into a single file, that is also allowed in Java, and these classes will all belong to the same package. So it will be very easy to access them. If there is a requirement to do like that, we can do. And here we can see I have declared two fields in the example 3 class int I and j. One is private, another is public. No, sorry, default. And if I don't specify any keyword, that means it is a default access specifier. We have to call like default like that only. And next one, next in the main method of the example 2, which is our file which we will run. So if you have multiple class files, then one class file should have the name of the Java file which we are writing. That should be the public class, and in that public class the main method should be there to run our code. So so let us see this. In the main method we are having mm, creating an object of the example 3 instance, and I'm trying to access the private field, but it is not accessible. I tried to access, but I can access the default field can be accessed. Let us see the output for this program. So here you can see the default default field is accessed correctly. So here you can see, even though it is in the same class, same file, but still private members will not be accessible outside the class. And that is it for this lecture on access specifiers and access modifiers. And here we will see about how what are the different access specifiers, public, private, default, and protected. And we are seeing how they are used using simple programs. And we can, it's to demonstrate this example, we can use multiple package. We can test it with having classes in multiple packages, and then calling the methods, everything we can test it to find out whether how the package and access modifiers are working in Java. Thank you for watching this lecture. Now in this lecture we are going to discuss about encapsulation feature in Java, and we will create an encapsulated class by the end of this lecture. So what is encapsulation? Encapsulation is one of the basic core pillars of object oriented concept. So we need to understand about encapsulation. So let us start. So encapsulation is the feature by which we will bind code and data together to form a single unit. So how it is working? So code means the methods, and data means variables. So we will, by using encapsulation technique, what we will do is we will have make a compact unit of both fields and methods, which is restricts the access and more provides more security to our code. And Encapsulation is achieved in Java by using private methods, private fields, and public methods. So how we will do is like we will have private fields. So there will be, for example, if it is an employee object, we will have ID and name in an employee. So we will declare those ID and name as private fields, and then using a public getter and setter methods, we will be able to set and get the values to a particular private fields. So we already seen in the access specifier lesson that the private methods are accessible to the public methods within that class. So by using that concept, we will be able to encapsulate the private fields and provide a compact structure for our us to work. So if there are multiple people working on the same class and all other case, in that case, if you want to provide validations to our particular private fields, we can provide it using the getters and setters, and we can do we will restrict the access to the particular fields. So if you create private fields, the other classes will not directly access it using the dot operator. So they are only able to access using the getters and setters, through which we will have a control to our particular fields. And this is how encapsulation is implemented in Java. Now let us see some practical for this. Now let us see a program to explain about encapsulated classes in Java. So encapsulated classes are used to encapsulate code and fields together, code and data together, and data means fields in Java. So here there are fields, particular fields to store the particular data. Here I am creating a student encapsulated class. So here you can see encapsulated class student, and it has three fields: ID, name, and branch. And these three fields are have declared with the private modifiers. So they will be private. So other classes will not be able to access them. And next thing which you need to provide I done is I provided a constructor so that we can able to set the values directly using when we create the object. Next thing which we I am doing is providing getters and setters to the particular fields. So here you can see these fields are private. So private fields can be accessed using public methods of the same class. If you do like that, that will become an encapsulated class. So here you can see the getters and setters for the respective field names. The getters and setters, the name will be like get followed by the name of the field, starting with the upper camel case. The name of the particular field will start with capital letter, and like that. The getters and setters will look like for respective fields. And now let us see them. And one more thing to mention here is if you go to in Eclipse, there is a tool to create getters and setters automatically. So you can right click and go to source. So you go to source, and then we will be able to create getters and setters from there. That will be automatically generated for you. Now let us see the main method to show how it is getting invoked and how we will be able to get and set to this particular encapsulated class. So here is the main method. In the main method, I am created a student object using its constructors, and I'm specifying some values to it. And after that, I am getting the particular values and printing it out. After printing it out, I am setting a value to a particular field, and after that also I am printing it out. So to check whether the value is getting modified or not. This is how we will be able to access this encapsulated class. And now you can see this is an example one class. This is in the same package, and if it is outside the package, then we have to access it. We can also access it if the method if the class is public, public class is there, then we will be able to access it outside the package. And now let us see the run this program to see the output how it is working. Here you can see the output has came, and the values are setted correctly, and after that final console log also it is coming correctly. uh, Final logging also it is coming correctly. And and that's how this output is coming for this program. Now in this we are seeing about the encapsulated class. Let us see another program on encapsulated class. Now let us discuss about another encapsulated class, which is an employee class. So employee class has three fields: ID, name, and manager. So here you can see the manager field is a boolean field. So boolean fields also we can declare in an encapsulated class. And when I'm using a I'm using a constructor to set the particular values. I'm not using this in this class in this like in this program. I'm not going to have a main method. I'm just going to show you how an encapsulated class for the employee will look like. So here you can see particular fields. I'm using the getters and setters. And one more thing to notice here is for boolean fields, the getter name will be is followed by the field name. So there will be no get field name for boolean fields. The setter name will be the getter name will be the is followed by the syntax. That's how the setter name for boolean will look like. So this is it for this lecture. And in this lecture we are seeing about encapsulation, which is the process of binding of data and code together to form a single entity. And this is a very cool feature in Java, which allows to have restricted access to particular fields. And we can create this field. This class is also, some people will call it as pojo or plain old Java object. So in these classes we'll have private fields and public access, public methods, public getters and setters to access the fields. And this is it for this lecture. Thank you for watching. Welcome back, friends. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about Java's this keyword. So this keyword is a keyword which is used to access the current instance of an object. So whenever we use this keyword followed by a variable name, that variable name will be accessed on the particular context of the class, and it will be the current instance will be it will be referring to. It is used in getters and setters. If in the last previous lectures we have discussed about getters and setters in an encapsulated class. So in this encapsulated classes we will use this keyword to access to the particular fields. And this keyword can be used also in the context of constructors to call the current class constructors. Also we can use this keyword. And one more thing to say about this key, this is like we will confuse what is this keyword like that. So always we have to think like this will refer to the current instance. So we can use it in the non-static methods in a particular class. We can use this notation to refer to a particular variable or a method. We can use this. So it will refer to the current class's instance. It will take the instance of the current class and call the particular method or access the particular field. So that's it for this keyword. Now let us see some programs based on this keyword. Now let us see a program based on this keyword in Java. So here I have an employee object. So in the employee object I have three fields: ID, name, and department. So these free fields are getting, if you are seeing here a constructor is there. So then the constructor there is I'm setting the field using this dot. So we can use this to refer to the current instance. So when we create an object at that time, that will be referring to the current instance. So that's why we are using this keyword here. So now you can see in the getters and in the other constructor I am calling the particular previous constructor. I can call using this. Here you can see I am calling the previous constructor. We can call the constructor using this followed by the parenthesis. If there is arguments are there in in the constructor, we can supply the arguments also following to inside this call. And this will refer call the particular constructor previous constructor. So now Let us go to the getters and setters of this particular fields of this class, encapsulated class. And here we can see a particular fields are setting using the this dot, and we are getting it by this dot. So this means if you don't if the names, like for example, if the parameter name is department and the param field name is department, and both names are same, but if you simply put the department equal to department, it will not set the department into the particular of the particular class. So in order to set it correctly, we have to use this notation, and we are using this notation, we can reuse the variable names. So Java developers usually follow the same variable names for the parameters as well as the fields. So that's why we have to use this keyword. If we don't use this keyword, what will happen, it will not impact any have any impact. It will set whatever the local variable which is available in the parameter, it will be only set to the function, to the method. So that will not have any effect on the code. So in order to set it correctly, always use this keyword. So when you auto generate using right click and source, at that time also the generated getters and setters will have this dot, this will be used. And now let us see the main method for this program. So here in the main method, we are seeing I am just invoking the method to just display some details. Now let us see the output of this program. Here you can see the output has came correctly, and is displayed. Now let us see another program based on this keyword. Now let us see a program based on this keyword. So this is a practical program in which I will use this keyword to achieve some functionality. So here you can see there is the append function here, append method. In the append method, I have put the return type of the append method is example to object, and it will take a string as its input in parameter, and what it will do is it will append a particular string into the output. So what will that, and finally it will return the this object. So that's how this reference can be used in one case in which we can refer back our current instance, so that the method which is calling will get the current instance with some values appended to it. Now let us see the main method of this program. So here in the main method you can see I have created a example to object, and after that I am calling the append method, and in that append method I can call it like multiple times by chaining them one after another, because the return type of this particular method is it's also the example to object, so it will return you an example to object. Again I can repeatedly call the append method. So this is kind of a cool way of doing this keyword. So let us see the output for this program to see whether it is appending correctly or not. Now here you can see the strings are appended correctly and the output has generated. Now let us summarize this lecture. So in this lecture we have seen the usage of this keyword. So this keyword can be used in getters and setters, as well as in constructor to call the constructors of the particular current class. We can use this keyword, and also in another program we have seen the usage of this. So this will refer to the current instance. So whenever we want to return the current instance, so that we can reuse the particular object again and again to create like chaining functionality. So that time also we can use this keyword. And thank you for watching the lecture. Please, I will see you in another lecture. Now in this final lecture of this section, we will discuss about records in Java. So what are records? Records are data only immutable classes. So there is a requirement you seen that in encapsulated class we have to create getters and setters, and then we have to create the particular field everything. So what if Java has a feature which will allow us to have these kind of classes automatically generated? So this is a new feature which was introduced in Java 14 records, which allows us to have data only immutable classes. Immutable classes meaning once you initialize an object in that class, we cannot change it. So that is a definition of records. And now let us see some of the features of the records. So the first feature, one feature is records consist of constructors. You can have construct different constructors in records, but all the constructors should call the particular the parameterized constructor of records. So records has a default parameterized constructor which will contains all the particular fields in a record. So the record will be declared like a record following by a parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, we will declare each record field. So after that, we can have a constructor in the records, but this is all the constructor should call the canonical constructor, which is called as canonical constructor or the default constructor for the records we have to call in order to initialize the object correctly. Now let us discuss another feature of record, which is it has default getters and hash code equals other two string. All the methods are available by default in this records. So these methods I will discuss in the object class when we discuss about object class. At that time I will discuss about these methods to string equals hash code. All these methods I will discuss. For now, let us think like for example, toString method is a method in which it will print the representation, string representation of the particular object. So if we implement the toString, then the string representation of the particular object will be printed. Now let us discuss about some more features of records. So the records, as you can see the record syntax for declaring the records. Here is the syntax. So record keyword followed by the record name followed by the parenthesis in which you will declare each field one by one. And records has one more feature which is records can have static methods. So you can declare static methods inside a record. And that is it for this record theoretical session. Now let us see some programs based on records. Hi and welcome to another program. In this program, we are discussing about records. So records, how can we create records in Java? Is like in Eclipse IDE is like right clicking on the particular package and going to new and record. Like that, you can create a record. So that's how we will create a record in Eclipse IDE. So here you can see the particular record, student record, id, name and branch. So here is this is the syntax of declaring a record, and you can see if all the fields in the record has been declared inside the parenthesis. Now let us see the main method for this program. So here in this main method, I have created a student object, and this is a data only class, immutable class. So I created the particular fields using the canonical constructor, which is even though I didn't provide any constructor in the record, there is a canonical constructor which is created for us by the compiler by automatically. So we can use this class as a data only class to store our data informations, and and this is how the I'm printing out each values by getting the particular value whether the canonical constructor is setting the particular values correctly or not. And after that I am final statement I will use the toString method which is provided by the default by the records. So the toString method will print out a string representation of the particular record. So that's let us see the output to see how the program is invoking and how the values are getting printed. So here you can see each ID name and branch is getting printed, and the toString representation is like class name followed by the square brackets. Inside the square brackets, each field name comma separated it is coming, and the values also it is coming. That's how the default is toString implementation for record, and that will print the details like that. Now let us see another program on records. Now let us see a program on records with constructors and methods. So here I declared an employee record. In this record, I have given ID and name. I am using the different constructors to set the values. So here you can see I am calling the canonical constructor, which is provided by the default. By default, that constructor will be available. So I am calling those constructors in the inside the other constructors, and this is how we have to use. You have to always call the canonical constructors if you are providing additional constructors to your code. Next thing is we are using a print method to print the particular details, name of the particular employee or record. And using by using we can have non-static members inside, no, methods inside the records. And again you can have static fields. In down I created a static field. You can have static field inside the record, and also you can have static methods inside the record. So this is how a record, what are the features, which are all the features which are available in the record. Now let us see the main method, how I am invoking this particular record. So here in this main method, you can see the created the record object, and for after creating the object, I am invoking the static method and non-static methods which are present in the record. So let us see the output for this. So here you can see the record, whatever the values are there in the, it is getting printed. So that is a section about lecture about records. So in this section we are covered about the new concept which is introduced in Java, a data only immutable class called as records. So this records allows us to have the data only classes which can have immutable only variables. So it is very handy. With this introduction of these records, we can replace most of the functionality which we return using encapsulated classes. So here you can see the default getters are provided, and hash code equals and toString. All the methods are also provided by the compiler. Along with that, a canonical constructor also is provided, so that we don't need to worry about initializing the object. Already a constructor is provided for you. And the syntax we seen about of records, how we declare a record, like that all the syntax we seen. And thank you for watching this video. Please continue watching the series.